Thunderdome video coming up. Don't you worry, but I had to do this real quick to shut down Max Baer and PP about like defense and running. Dude, these guys, dude. Hey, shout out to Wiley for the Durant footage.
But that's consistency. While the average fanboy out there scores for the guy they like. There's nothing wrong with that. Just don't come over here and question my integrity or consistency. I will not be called a fanboy by a bunch of fucking fanboys. Understand? Good.
You know, Golovkin had not convinced me that he could compete with Andre
Wrong with that. Just don't come over here and question my integrity or consistency. I will not be called a fanboy by a bunch of fucking fanboys. Understand? Good.
Let's match them all up. Lara Golovkin, Golovkin Ward, maybe Ward Lara. Meaningful fights. Meaningful fights. Meaningful fights. Fights that decide how good.
When I call him a bum, what I'm really saying is that the guy's an amateur fighter. He's a lazy fighter. And he talks a lot of shit.
But that's consistency. While the average fanboy out there scores for the guy they like. There's nothing wrong with that. Just don't come over here and question my integrity or consistency. I will not be called a fanboy by a bunch of fucking fanboys. Understand? Good.
You know, the white fight lovers, you know, and the guys that hate the black guys, they've had a fucking tough month, man. You know, with Golovkin fucking fighting Brook and Kovalev looking like shit, and you know Terrence Crawford winning great. So with Ward, you know, going up to fight Kovalev was just so gigantic. So what they're doing is clearly obvious. They're shifting the blame. They're trying to make you think of other stuff. Okay, they've even got together and talked about this. Now they're saying that these guys are all runners and shit. PP and Max Baer like put out videos saying, you know, you can't have offense and defense at the same time, and you know they're calling Terrence Crawford a runner. It's ridiculous. It's clear what they're doing. That guy's not a runner at all. Clearly, you don't watch him fight. I mean, yeah, did you watch the Gamboa fight? He was losing those first, 3 or 4 rounds because Gamboa was faster, and then he used his footwork and his timing. But anyways, look, you know, these guys try to talk down to you like they know what they're talking about, and the facts are they don't know what they're talking about at all, okay? If you really know boxing, they're making fools of themselves. Now, I'm going to get into all that later in another video, how footwork is the most important attribute in boxing, because it is. You know, every great fighter doesn't have to have great footwork, okay? However, if a fighter has bad footwork, he's going to get exposed every time. You know, again, they all don't have to have great footwork, you know, because footwork's all about closing the distance and all that. Kovalev doesn't have great footwork, and he closes the distance well, but that's because the other guy's scared of him. You know, he's got fear on his side. The guy's scared to come in. Okay, but you know, so they don't always have to have great footwork. But if you have bad footwork, there's no great guys with bad footwork. Okay, because you're going to get exposed. Okay, so PP's bringing up saying that it's ridiculous. Terrence Crawford's running, Laura ran, this, that, and the third. Now look, I don't really like it when guys run either. You know, sometimes I like it. There's times when you like the fighter or the fight. For example, I went to Rigondeaux Nonaire. Right? That wasn't that great a fight. However, the fighter was great. I was in awe at that fight. And I've been to probably 300 live fights. I was so in awe at that fight. It was my top 5 where I've been in awe. Now, I wasn't in awe of the fight. I was in awe of the fighter. Okay? You know, there's a difference. I mean, he was awesome. You know, and I appreciated it. But, you know, I'm a guy that likes to see people get punched in the face, like a lot of you. But I could definitely appreciate, you know, the good... Dude, it's not fighting. It's boxing. Okay? If it was fighting, yeah, your point, you know, but it's boxing, okay? You could totally, you know, quote-unquote run and use that as quote-unquote defense. And the funny thing is, you know, when Sugar Ray Leonard fought Hagler, you know, all you guys say that Sugar Ray Leonard is one of the all-time greats. You all say that, and you're all saying, oh, you know, he beat Hagler, this, that, whatever. Dude, he ran in that fight more than anybody, more than Laura or Floyd has ever ran in any fight ever, okay? But do you see PP saying, no, PP says, oh, Ray Leonard won that fight. He's such a fraud. He's such a fraud. Watch, just watch. You know, let's take Kovalev. I said this in my Ward video. You know, if you go side to side with Kovalev, he's gonna have to punch across his shoulder. Okay, and when you punch across your shoulder, if you force him to do that, his punch goes from 100% of his power to 60% of his power. Stand up in a stance and punch straight ahead, and then punch across your shoulder, across your body. And you tell me what's way less powerful. And what is that doing? That's taking away from his game. Okay? That's taking away from him scoring points. So that's almost like offense for you. Okay? Footwork is just, dude, you just have no idea what you're talking about. None. Okay? And you're trying to be a big leaguer, Mr. Big Time, to tell the casuals and, you know, use big words to make it sound like you know what you're talking about. You have no idea what you're talking about. None. Zero. Okay? I mean, you know, footwork, #1 attribute by far in boxing, and is used for offense and it's used for defense. Okay? You can use your footwork to set traps to have them come at you. Okay? Where you dodge them and you're perfectly set up for a counter punch. Okay, you know, Terrence Crawford, that's all you guys are trying to do. You're just trying to downplay Terrence Crawford's win. I mean, it's that simple, you know. He wasn't running at all. That's a lie, okay? And what about in the Ray Leonard-Hagler fight? Did you ever say anything bad about Ray Leonard in that fight? Now, I was pissed that Ray Leonard was running in that fight, but it's a boxing match. It's not a fight. What Leonard did was brilliant. I'm still pissed off about it to this day. But no one ever calls him a chicken shit and a runner in that fight. And in that fight, he did it more than Lara did against Canelo, more than anybody. He was running around. You know, he even admits it himself, okay? He was banking rounds with pitter-patter. So don't give me that shit.
Punches. A few round-stealing flurries is what he's trying to... wanted the bigger ring here. He got his wish, and he's using all of it.
He said, "Stop and fight like a man, you little bitch. Fight me like a man, you little bitch." And I said, "No." And I said, "No." And I said, "No." He don't fight nobody slugging. He's a mover, a boxer. Fight nobody slugging. He's a mover, a boxer. Fight nobody slugging. He's a mover, a boxer, a chess player.
To me, he fought like still back in the Olympic days with the pitter-patter thing or running around and whatever. I didn't feel as though he fought me like a champion.
And Leonard with his hands at his side, really taunting Hagler.
Hit him in the ass, you know, spin him around, do a little flurry, move around, dance, raise your hand.
And now Hagler mocking Leonard.
But meanwhile, what is it doing to this guy's head?
Smiling at him and just essentially saying, "Come on." And now Hagler's getting
him fight, and he's out there, you know, sticking his head out, he's shuffling his feet. It was kind of a little humor, if you will. You don't make a mockery out of the sport.
Wait, please, watch. That's consistency. While the average fanboy out there scores for the guy they like. There's nothing wrong with that. Just don't come over here and question my integrity or consistency. I will not be called a fanboy by a bunch of fucking fanboys. Understand? Good. But Sugar Ray Leonard goes on to beat Hagler. One of the greatest fights, one of the most significant fights in recent history. One of the greatest fights, one of the most significant fights in recent history. One of the greatest fights, one of the most significant fights in recent history. It's a huge fight on both guys' resumes. Even Hagler officially losing that fight, his stock didn't go down, and that's the biggest name on his resume. There's nothing wrong with that. Just don't come over here and question my integrity or consistency. I will not be called a fanboy by a bunch of fucking fanboys. Understand?
All right, back to PP's original video, how he's saying that it's an oxymoron to have offense and defense, you know, at the same time. He says it's impossible. I mean, dude, Okay. Who's the best infighter of all time? In my opinion, it's Roberto Duran, right? Why is Roberto Duran the best infighter of all time? Well, listen, Thunderdome, you listening? It's because his infighting defense. He was a fucking master at infighting. Knowing where to put his head, throwing short shovel hooks and uppercuts instead of wide ones. Okay? So his punches are blocked, his opponent's punches are blocked by his forearms while he's punching, offense and defense simultaneously, okay? And instead of throwing wide, where his opponent's totally opened up because his arms can't come in, you got perfect positioning on him, and you could throw the shovel hooks and uppercuts, and he can't do nothing. You got his whole body, he's got nothing, okay? Just watch the great Roberto Duran. He has perfect inside position where, I think he's teaching Sergio Mora there. All his punches are getting blocked by Duran's forearms and shoulders, and Duran's got the perfect counter punch and simultaneously punch. That's perfect offense, defense, okay? That's the master. Look at him in action. And that's not holding the guy's arms. Like, watch right here. He's not holding his arms. That's perfectly legal. He spins him around. Yeah, but that's not offense, defense. See right there how he's holding? That's a little trick right there, but he's moving his hands so he's not holding him down. It's perfectly legal, and he's right there for the uppercut. Look at him, killing him. And notice he's not holding his arm down. He doesn't have it clamped. He's holding it down, but he doesn't have it clamped. It's perfectly legal. A lot of times in there you can't see. Notice Duran, I talked about this in my Ward video. Ward does this too. He plants his head on the guy's breast, so he knows by instinct and by reflex what punch is coming without seeing it from the shoulder movement, okay? And he knows what to block. He knows where to go. Inside, you can't see in there, okay? So he's down there just like that. He's the master at it. Ward's good at it too. And, the other guy doesn't know what the hell's going on. And Duran could just feel that a left hook's coming, and he puts his arm up. Just perfect. But there's no such thing as offense and defense, right? What a joke. See that block right there? Watch. He can't see that. Boom. It's all reflex. He felt where the guy's shoulder was moving. He knew a punch was coming, so he put his hand up. No such thing as offense and defense at the same time. It's an oxymoron. Look at that. You can put a blindfold on him.
Too many guys at welterweight.
Some people read the book. You. Some people write it. Me.
Except Pacquiao. If Pacquiao's retired, Bradley can run the division, And if Thurman is brought along properly and given the time to develop, then he will be the only person that can, challenge Bradley and have a legitimate chance